I didn't know who was connected to who. She did some things, and my family's done some things that were not always the best thing for me. And they knew that, but I also know that they have been tortured and blackmailed and forced to do a lot of horrible things. So I'm thinking about that. I really feel like just stopping here for now, but then again, maybe I should just continue. I guess I will continue because this is important. So the guy said that he was pulling me over for an alert. He got some kind of an alert from someone who alerted the Coburg police officer. I mean, it seems to me that if a local Coburg officer got an alert from someone, it would be the state police. And that's who Robin Bechtold's brother worked for, so it could be them, or it could have been FBI. And it was close. I was on the way towards I was going in the direction of Coos Bay, and I hadn't been there in quite a long time. I hadn't seen my family in a long time. And Raul Buhanda and Armando Garza had supposedly been working in that area in Coos Bay. And Josh Gatov, the man who raped me, was born and raised in Coos Bay. So all of a sudden, I think my initial reaction was, the FBI doesn't want me to go to Coos Bay. Like they are worried that if I go to Coos Bay, I'll come into contact with their FBI workers. So this alert was put out, and then the guy said my license was suspended. I said, no, I'm positive it's not. And he said, well, that's what information I have. And I said, well, who did something like that, because it's not. And he said he didn't have that information, but he had to tow my car. So first he looked through a bunch of things. He was really searching my car. Like, all of a sudden I was being treated like I had weapons on me or drugs or something like that. And, I let him do a little bit of a search and go through some things. And then he wanted me to get out and give him my keys. And I happened to have 2 sets of keys. I gave him one of the sets. He asked for my driver's license, and I gave him one of the driver's licenses that I had, because I had to. And so it was I typically, of course, would give everything to an officer if they asked, but I knew that what they were doing was a huge mistake, and it was false. I knew it was false. And I knew that I had to be able to prove. I mean, basically, it's like being in a foreign country. Somebody steals all your documents from you. How do you prove you are who you say you are, and that you have the information about yourself? How do you get your property back when somebody like the police is illegally confiscating all of the documentation you have in order to prove that you're innocent? So here I am in my own country, and they're treating me like this. And I didn't really think about it twice. I just gave him the one set, and it was the fact that I did that is what enabled me to actually even get my car reinstated when I did, and to get my car back so I could drive at all, because basically by taking my keys and my driver's license from me, what he was saying is that they were going to take my car and hold it indefinitely until I had the matter cleared up through whoever was saying that I had a problem with, or that it was suspended. And so they were basically holding me hostage, because they knew that I needed my car to drive to my lawsuits, to pick up my evidence that I needed to enter into the federal court. And they knew that it was the only way I could go to college. They knew that I had everything, all of my belongings and my legal materials in Washington State, and yet I was going to be stranded in Oregon. How do I go back and forth to do those things? And all along they knew that it was a false citation. So they knew that if they took my driver's license and keys and said, you can't have these back until you fix this problem, if they knew that Judge Gerald Warren was going to then tell me, I'm not going to correct this, they already had it set up to be blocking my freedom of movement. They not only blocked my freedom of movement, they ruined my college. They ruined my financial aid because it went into default. They ruined all of my lawsuits, and that's the only reason why I lost any of the lawsuits that I lost, is because of government interference and on a criminal level. So I will describe what I did next after this officer then got my mother on the phone. And these officers, they really intimidated and tried to use police and law enforcement with regard to my parents. They've done a lot of threatening, and probably I wouldn't be surprised at all if they've had guns held to their heads, point blank, because I've seen some really nasty things that have been done to them already. And why I'm an adult, and why these officers are always wanting to tap in and call my mom or my dad when I'm an adult, just to harass them or to cause concern, is inexcusable. It's not something that normal professional people do. I mean, I was handling my own lawsuits then I was age 27 or 28. And this officer's calling out my mom, and which, later down the road, we've got the DEA in Tennessee calling out my mom. They're always calling my parents and then trying to rub something in. And it's really shocking because I've always tried to hold my own, and they've been using my parents to control me, and controlling me through controlling my parents for the longest time, for as long as I can remember. They have, they forced me to work for Mary and Carl Del Balzo, who were Intel employees for a microchip company. After they implanted me, I wasn't given an option to work for them. I was forced to work for them. And Carl and Mary Del Balzo did a lot of favors for Katie Middleton through their little Italian circles.